approximately 9 minutes, yes, 9 minutes, 10 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock, and you're listening to the Ground Report right here in Tobago at the Coco Resort Hotel this morning. I must say a pleasant good morning to all maxi drivers, taxi drivers, PH drivers, bus drivers, truckers, seven-seaters, all my drivers. A pleasant good morning to you. I must say a pleasant good morning to our brothers and sisters in Tobago. Tobago, here we come. We have to know what's going on in Tobago here. Lennox Smith, for a matter of fact, Nigel Snipes, a pleasant good morning to you.
You're free to get cuss out. Oh, yeah. Yes, indeed, of course. A pleasant good morning to all and sundry. East, West, North, Central. But listen to this. East, West, North, Central in Tobago, because we are in Tobago. Normally, I would say Trinidad. And then, of course, our massive audience and following in Trinidad. And then wherever you are in the world, and whatever time of the day it is, a pleasant, good day to you. Of course, it is the what I would consider to be the Wednesday edition of the Ground Report, and we are in the lovely Isle of Tobago. Yes, the sister isle, I should say. I don't want to generate any division, because this is not what this is all about. It is about unity. It is about understanding, in spite of the fact that there is a positive and I would say deserving call for greater autonomy, which of course I'm sure that will realize itself in due course because of the activism of those both in and out of the parliament. Those in the parliament representing Tobago, East and West, and of course those in Tobago, of course, as part of the House of Assembly, and all of the other agencies, I'm sure, would be, of course, supporting this particular cause because it is deserving. And I've taken a look at the history of Tobago as well, and I realized that they were in fact in front of us in terms of an assembly, a legislature. Whilst, of course, Trinidad got that after, but of course under the British. But certainly in terms of Tobago, and therefore there is this urge to be as autonomous as possible, but at the same time maintaining the umbilical connection, if you want to say, with that of Trinidad. Andy, we have a wonderful program set up for us today. Of course, we have. Let me introduce our guests, our first guest. People, we would not be able to take your calls. So sorry about that. I know that those persons who have been accustomed to that interactive nature will forgive us for today. But we are in Tobago. And yes, indeed, of course, we have Mr. Alan Stewart, the director of the TEMA, the Tobago Emergency Management Agency. You know, some people tell me authority and so on. It's the agency, not so. Am I right? Right. Beautiful, yeah, because I did my homework. Yeah, so that being as it may, Andy, I don't know if you want to start the ball rolling because you Mr. Allen is here. Nice. And well, tell us. But let me go off the cuff because this is the Ground Report and we like to get straight to the jugular, so to speak. There were two incidents. One is very current, and that is, of course, that child that was that is assumed somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean. And yesterday there was a situation where a body was spotted, but then, of course, the inclemency of the weather created some problems, and of course the ski incident where that child lost her life from Trinidad. So I know that I did my homework as well in that regard. I know that the EMA is coordinating, and of course it's intrinsically involved in that whole process. So maybe we could start from there.
Yes, certainly. It's rather unfortunate that we start with this type of news.
Yeah.
But it's all part. And it comes with the terrain.
Yeah, it is an issue.
Yeah, it comes with the terrain of TEMA and the Tobago Emergency Management Agency.
Yes.
You rightly said that some people may think it's an authority. Yeah. I think we ought to be an authority. Maybe that's looking into the future.
Okay.
And therefore, it's necessary for the country as well that, disaster management take on that kind of authoritative move where you have that type of cloud. Getting back to the issue of what exactly happened. So we learned yesterday very early. It was just around 5 o'clock yesterday morning
Mm-hmm.
that one of our search centers, community emergency response team, I shouldn't make you know listeners know that Tobago has what you call a professional search program, community emergency. So they work 24/7 and they are staff and tool to do
I
that
see.
type of job. So the fire services would have reached out to them, indicating that there was a situation that required a search and rescue operation, and it was started for just around 5 o'clock, 0500 hours in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
However, it speaks to an incident that grieve all of us. So I want to say this morning, to the mother, the father, and the family that is grieving, and the community as well that is being affected by this tragic incident of the 2-year-old. That a
Yes.
2-year-old went missing.
Okay.
The teams responded to the area, and the authorities who were coordinating the response, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, also they requested certain assets of TIMA, which we made available in
Great.
terms of UAVs to um, do search. We recognize that this is on the Atlantic Ocean and
Side,
it's very, very, very rough terrain, and therefore we utilize the assets um, before certain assets could get on the site. There was a spotting of the body, what
I see.
appears to be a body, and of what they describe as the child in the waters, and immediately they asked for a vessel. That was not very forthcoming immediately, and therefore it took some coordination, and we were able to muster the resource from one of the nearby villages,
I see.
and that went quite well. They came up, and by the time the vessel got there, um, the body disappeared
Disappeared.
again
Okay.
on the water, and then the search continued. It went up till last night. The teams will be returning again this morning. We wish that the ocean will give us favor,
Most
and therefore give up what doesn't belong to
cooperative.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, more
And
cooperative.
therefore the mothers and the grieving family
Yes.
will bring some settlement. So we wish that goes well. The other incident that you make mention to has to do with an ongoing area of lawlessness that is happening in what some describe as the Marine Park.
Okay.
We know that the Marines Law Act in 1970 that was made available in 1973 as an act speaks to that area as a controlled area, protected area by law. However, over the years, we have used it for tourism product. We have sought to strike the balance between entrepreneurship and the preservation of what we consider to be the ecosystem. The ecosystem plays a very important role to us. Livelihood, our very existence, and it's something that I think some of the players involved must become comfortable with, and therefore rules and regulations must be adhered to as in order to preserve that livelihood, and also the livelihood going beyond the recreational purposes that it's been used for. Now, that incident, when it occurred, it moved the island in a particular way because it struck the very heart of our tourism product,
Yes.
and on a beach that is considered a gem, one of the wonders of the world, Pigeon Point. And therefore, it really left a bad taste, and it also happened in the midst whereby um, the assembly made moves to try to regulate the area and bring matters under control. I myself, just a few um, months ago, weeks ago, was involved in a number of discussions with some of the players that are involved. There's committees that were set up, trying to regulate the industry in a particular way. There were discussion of self-regulation of some of the stakeholders involved. So it's very unfortunate, and we hope that good may come out of it, in the sense that people will understand the soberness, the seriousness of how important it is to regulate, and the safety at sea is something that I we at TIMA advocate for strong.
Before we go into the role, the substantive role of TIMA, there are two other issues that would have emanated from that particular experience, and that is the reach out to the Trinidad family, for example, that would have been affected. I'm sure that Trinidadians are listening, and they would want to know what role the uh, FEMA and or if you have the information, THA would have played in terms of reaching out, and indeed, because it will have repercussions for persons. May not, they may not be hesitant, or they may well be hesitant to come to Tobago. And of course, having regard to the very good relationship, symbiotic relationship that Trinidad and Tobago has in terms of domestic tourism.
I think it was remarkable the responses and the attention that was drawn through the demonstration by the assembly was quite remarkable in terms of the response. And the chief secretary, he himself was very disturbed and very troubled by the incident. As I said, in the light of all that the efforts that they were putting in to correct these measures was not the first, and we are hoping it will be the last. But nevertheless, I think that that level of benignity shared by the assembly and empathy went quite well with the communication between the affected. But to point it, to bring it around to TIMA is not something, it's not our forte, it's not our area. That is like flying past our nest. But being who I am, it's important that we can give a sober response to these incidents, because it's really the very thing that you're trying to build. And therefore, we understand the importance of working together. There's always, it's two sides of the same coin. As an island, we have a responsibility, a twin island state. I think we recognize the importance that the Trinidad community pays to the tourism product here on the island of Tobago.
Yes.
I would like to ask something, right? Since we're on that, you have been a very serious advocate when it coming to legislations to ensure the safety of fishermen and let me say reef operations at the sea. Given the influx of the tourists, given influx of tourists expected for the 2026 season, does Tobago have the legislative teeth necessary to enforce safety standards, or are we still relying primarily on voluntary cooperation?
I think the law speaks for itself, but when you take a very close examine of the law, it's a protective area by law, and therefore, one of the things that is injuring the process, there are two major areas. You talk about legislation, so let us start there. One of the things you will discover with the law is that it's age, meaning therefore the penalties associated with it is like a slap on the wrist, and therefore it needs a modification now that you have what you call an assembly existed. So you have a Tobago House of Assembly with the responsibilities for these areas. But when you look at the law itself, it is structured in such a way that it speaks to the minister, but in that same breath, it gives to whoever he passed that.
It is by that portfolio
onto.
to our responsibility.
That's right. So the minister has the capacity in the document of the law. So clearly, it's one of the areas that the assembly have made the attempt. It's something that they are currently working on. The bill that was passed is pointing towards those areas where the policy of the Tobago House of Assembly now can be recognized in law and bring it into today and going forward. I think that is a major objectives. As it relates to safety, it is imperative that from a national perspective, that we recognize motorcrafts just as how we regulate them, just as how we regulate vehicles on the roadway.
including motorcycles and so on. I'm glad that you mentioned that because and I want to commend the THA and specifically the chief secretary for moving expeditiously towards, of course, augmenting the
Yeah, he's very
regulations
serious
and
about it.
the law. Of course, it has to get ratification from the national parliament. But what the point I want to make here as well is that there are certain stakeholders that are saying, well, there was not enough consultation. The penalties are punitive from I think $50 or something so to about 200,000, that kind of thing, and so on in the thousands. In other words, and that it may well affect those persons who may have just invested um, in that business, in that marine environment business, and now they will be negatively affected. Of course, people defy the law as far as the THA is concerned, and then of course the chief secretary found it, and I think it's commendable to go to the national courts and seek, of course, an injunction to make sure that people do not go where the law as it stands, even
it
though, of
stands.
course, it has not yet been fully implemented or ratified by the national parliament and eventually assented to. So, what is your take? What is your feel on the ground? Are those arguments
Yeah,
reasonable? What?
arguments are always can be sometimes misplaced and sometimes well placed.
Okay.
It's important that we people have a right to be defiant. They have a right to their own. We talk about the sovereignty of people and that kind of stuff. But it's important that right and wrong be properly defined. And if the law has to, the court of the law have to make those determinations, then it's all part of the process. But I think with this forward movement of the assembly, they have now established, coming out of the elections, a brand new committee, and therefore, these people are serious and wanting to make betterment, and the consultations are happening. Somebody may think that it's not enough, but I think it is necessary. The inclusiveness, being a people-centered island,
Yes.
is critically important for our, sustained development, and that leveraging is very powerful. And the reaching out to the players involved and the stakeholders at this time, using the wave of this the consciousness. In other words, it has brought about a soberness in the minds of all players, because here you see that the authorities is not taking it sitting down. They have been working on it, and it's just a matter to bring it into further focus and to make sure that that it gets the support that is necessary. Of course, with the stakeholders being involved and understanding that regulation is necessary. I wake up one morning, my existence, and we were wearing seatbelts.
Yeah. But of course, we are out of time. So in the 2 minutes that we have, I want to get a little more about the future direction of the Tobago Emergency Management Agency, and of course, so what you see the future looks like in terms of all of what we have just discussed in 2 minutes.
I think the future looks bright. It's challenging in the sense that when you look at the world today, rapidly hazards are becoming more furious, frequently, and also with the help and the aim of the THA going forward, we have set out what you call a strategic development plan, and therefore we are hoping to evolve further to mirror the threats that we are up against.
Thank you very much. Of course, this is, of course, we were talking to Mr. Alan Stewart, the director of TEMA, the Tobago Emergency Management Agency.
That's right.
Right? And of course, we go for a break, and when we come back, more right here in Tobago.
Wonderful.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Trinidad and Tobago, we are back, we are back, we are back. Time check is 33, yes, 33 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock. And you're listening to the Ground Report right here on Talk City 91.1 FM. Well, again, right now we are live at the Coco Reef Hotel. I must say thanks so much to the management of the Coco Reef Hotel for hosting us here. I mean, it's a lovely, lovely hotel, boy. What? Lennox Smith?
Yes, indeed. Of course, it is as if you are in a sort of quasi paradise.
Yeah.
But that being as it may, I was very pleased, of course, to get a rum punch as a as an introduction.
As an introduction,
yeah.
eh?
But I couldn't go further monetarily. But that's
Now, the rum punch tastes really, really nice.
Yeah, very nice.
I had the
very nice.
opportunity to taste a little delights, and
Yeah.
it tastes
And
really
the
nice.
accommodation itself, in terms of the room and so on.
Yeah, very nice, very
yeah,
nice.
Yeah, very
Not only that,
enticing.
here I was watching too, the
Mhm.
beach here, where you see the stone barrier, the
Yeah.
beach is like a pool, but
Yeah,
Yeah, boy, the beach like a
it-
pool.
It
Smooth.
appears that they have commandeered or confiscated part of the waterfront for their own accommodation. But I suppose that is part and parcel of the ambience, one, and two, of course, the accommodation, so that you could feel comforted that the whole ocean you're seeing beyond it, you know you wouldn't get there for sure because of the barrier.
Because of the
So
barrier.
I think
But-
that is a good, what I consider to be protective, because these days is about protection in Tobago, as we have heard, of course, from the head of TIMA. That is, of course, Mr. Alan Stewart, who was just interviewed by us. But that being as it may, we have with us Miss Ruth Kamabach, who, of course, is the co-leader Airbnb. She has to tell us what that means.
Yes.
BNB. That has to be an acronym. Host community for Trinidad and Tobago and the Southern Caribbean. And of course, she is also the founder of Trinidad and Tobago Short Stay Association. I read about short stay, so I understand
But I
that.
have one quick question.
Oh, go ahead.
And what's here is this question that I would like to you. Again, pleasant meeting you, Miss Ruth Kamabach. Oh boy, what a lovely lady we have in front here. What is the data saying about why guests choosing short stay homes in Tobago over the traditional hotels for the 2026 season?
Okay, it's a pleasure to be here this morning. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for the invite.
Yes.
So I am the co-lead for the Airbnb, which is one of the largest guest rental or travel rental platforms in the world.
I see. Okay,
Right.
good.
So every time someone refers to renting a short stay rental, they will refer to it as an Airbnb because it has become that that's synonymous with rental of these accommodations.
Very good.
However, short stay rental can be done through any booking platform. What we call them is online travel agencies. So they will cover Vrbo, Google Homes, Booking.com, where some hotels are listed as well. So Airbnb is just one of the largest of those that particular platform.
All right, but let's back up a bit. I would like to get a definition for short stay accommodation.
Right. So a short stay accommodation is really any accommodation, and you notice I'm not saying property because
Yes.
under Airbnb you'll find there are unique accommodations that are not properties.
I see.
Okay. So it's any accommodation that can be rented for a period less than 28 days.
Right. So we have a time frame.
Yes.
And therefore, beyond that, it will not be defined as such. It can
No,
be defined.
beyond that is defined as a mid-stay rental.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so there are different tiers in which that qualification or classification will
Right. Beautiful.
fall under.
And in terms of your own involvement, I see that you are Caribbean oriented as well as domestic. Domestic here, I mean both Trinidad and Tobago, even though we are in Tobago today. Right? Tell us, what's the role that institution to which you are attached, and then the one that you have created, obviously, in the domestic environment?
Sure. So I am a co-lead. Well, I'm a volunteer co-lead Airbnb host community leader
Right.
for Trinidad and Tobago initially. However, I also have the responsibility of that for the Southern Caribbean. Okay, so we are three leaders for the Southern Caribbean. One is based in Grenada. The other one is she's out of Trinidad,
I see.
and then I covered Tobago
I see.
for that regard. However, we have recently, and I'm saying as of recent as the last year, we were all merged together into one committee, so that now we basically direct this whole Southern Caribbean
I see.
area.
Assuming that someone wants to get into the business, I get the impression, of course, it's small, maybe two person. I don't know if you want to be an entrepreneur, uh, you know. But is there a limit in terms of investment so that it could add to that definition of short stay? That's from a layman's perspective.
Right.
I am an empty vessel, so I'm willing to learn.
No problem. So, to become a short stay operator, is a very low barrier to entry.
I see.
Meaning that once you have a space that you're willing to have other people come to, and they're willing to pay for it, you're a short stay operator.
I see.
That's
And,
basically.
and is there a cost? Is it, well, in terms of the amount of money that you can spend, and therefore would put you in a different category? I don't know, so I'm just asking.
In terms of the operator.
Yeah, in terms of the
No,
suppose.
no, no. Once you have the investment, you make the investment in your property, and once you make it comfortable and accommodating for travelers, you
Right,
can.
and that time bar is what you are going to look at in terms of defining that business as a short stay.
Correct.
Okay.
Right,
And
let me ask a question. Reginald McLean from the THTA has called for bringing all short stay properties into the tax and standards net. As a leader for the host community, what's your stance?
So, I don't disagree with him in principle.
principle.
In principle, I do believe that there needs to be a type of standardization. However, where we part ways is how we cannot treat the normal, say, retiree or a mom at home who has a property under her house and decides to turn it into a short stay rental. We cannot classify or cannot tax that person in the same manner we would a corporate entity.
you would not do what?
Tax.
Oh, tax. Okay, for taxes.
But that's what you're asking for.
Right.
Same thing.
And personally, I don't believe taxation without understanding what is the purpose and where is the revenue going to be allocated to is necessarily the best approach for this issue. What we have found, especially in our industry, is as short stay rentals, our investment is ongoing, right? I am not saying that the hotels have not been doing that, but you find that because we understand the importance of creating spaces that are viable, that are enticing, that are warm and friendly, and create that vibe of community and everything, we tend to generally go beyond, to ensure that that happens, because it's not for us the bottom line always, right? It is about providing that hospitality touch, that is required.
You being the regional leader, how is Tobago's short stay market compared to the rest of islands and them, like Grenada and Barbados?
So, where Tobago differs from Grenada and Barbados is Barbados has set themselves up as the welcome island,
Okay.
right? Grenada is following fastly behind them. What they have done, they have discovered that the digital nomad community is one of the largest community across the world. The most recent research has shown that digital nomads have made up more than 60% of the travelers. And digital nomad is basically someone who wants to be able to work from anywhere. They are the ones who will stay longer. They are the ones who will spend in your communities. They will go down to the parlor and support the parlor there. They will go to the restaurants. They will rent a taxi. Those are the things that we want because we want to get that dollar back into the community where it's supposed to.
Right, but what the Southern Caribbean host community doing to lobby for better airlift between these islands?
So, as the Airbnb host community, we cannot lobby. However, that is why we have founded the Trinidad and Tobago Short Stay Rental Association. As an association, it's a non-profit association, we are now able to lobby for better scheduling, better maintenance reporting. Basically, we are able to lobby for a seat at the table to be able to express what our requirements are or how we are going to work together with the stakeholders to be able to make sure that both travelers and officials and our communities are able to work hand in hand where these things are concerned for the airbridge and the sea bridge as well, because that's a big part of the whole demographic for us, because we have a lot of guests who will book a flight to Trinidad and then decide to take the experience of the ferry across. And when that is done, we have issues. We have cancellations, all the other things that the ripple effect that causes. That is what we experience as well, just as the hotels.
You mentioned earlier, and you made reference, of course, to taxation in the context of the local environment.
Right.
But certainly you would have information on the whole question of what is the situation with respect to Barbados and Grenada, for example, and how does the authorities there deal with that aspect of it? I have another follow-up question, but I want to make sure that you said the piece, so to speak, on that.
Right. So now these, Grenada has recently enforced some legislation.
Okay.
All right. It is not fully implemented. What we admire about what they have done, both Grenada and Barbados, is that they have actually come to the table and said, listen, this is what we want to do. How can we make it fair? And that's what we're dealing with. What is the fairness of it? And with a widespread taxation of saying all rentals, it does not treat to the fairness.
Yeah.
So you have to discriminate.
Of course.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you have to be eclectic.
Because no way a small stay, short stay could pay.
So my follow-up question is, of course, obviously there is a pushback from officialdom, so to speak, as to your position, and I got the impression that our short stay industry is in its nascent stage, its development stage, and therefore the argument that you are presenting. But would you, if it reaches the stage, let's say, of Grenada and Barbados, what futuristically you think your position might be having regard to that development?
Okay, so as the founder of the TTSRA, our position for the next 5 years is really to create an environment where we act as the connective tissue between different organizations.
Okay.
So we are able to create and implement that, collect data that we can use to support how certain taxation measures is going to create higher prices in specifically Tobago. Right now, we are out of the tax. When you look at the traveler's choice, Tobago is not one of the top because of prices. Right? Our prices are more than
exorbitant
by more than
competitors.
40% if you compare going to Grenada or if you compare going to Barbados. Right? So with the increase in or with the implementation of any taxation, obviously the prices of rooms are going to go up. And if the prices of rooms go up, then it will make Tobago even less attractive to a potential visitor who is saying, well, okay, I may as well go to Barbados. I mean, they have white sands and or aqua water, that kind of thing. So we need to understand where we fit in that whole um, attractiveness to the Caribbean, because already most people, when they hear Caribbean, they think Jamaica firstly,
Okay.
and then you have other islands that would pop up. In order for us to stand out, we need to be able to be as attractive, if not more attractive, by our offerings. And right now, personally, we have more, I would say, better offerings than Grenada or Barbados. Our natural offerings are way more than some of the other islands that are getting, the bookings. If we look at the bookings per traveler ratio.
I like how you're going there. I like how you're going there. The airbridge is a lifeline for property owners. If it faces constant challenges, we are looking at instant loss in bookings. What are your association message to the relevant stakeholders regarding a reliable domestic market service? But always have the
I know, and
problem up and down.
Exactly.
There is a
Yeah.
fuel issue and
and
thousands
and
of
what I would like to say is that I would like them to treat the air bridge just that as they would treat any critical infrastructure. So whether it be the roads from the port, you're not going to leave potholes on the highway.
True.
You understand?
Yes,
So we would like to have that kind of smooth operations where the air bridge is concerned. And we really would like to have more transparency where scheduling, whether it be aircrafts are concerned, we need to have more transparency where that is concerned.
But that is concerned, the government recently here add on a next flight which will cost about $1,000, but it's like a VIP. It's like a VIP, meaning the regular service is running, but if it is you want to actually come to Tobago
at your
at your
convenience.
convenience,
You pay for it.
in any way that will can help.
So I think that may appeal more to the domestic travel. And I'm talking about people who are in Trinidad and they want to get away with the family in Tobago because they don't want to go elsewhere. They may take up that opportunity. But what I see is that is actually going to put another barrier for in terms of travelers to Trinidad,
I like
to
how you're
Tobago.
talking. I like how you're talking. Yes,
The-
yes.
and,
talk.
and one of the
They are
other
listening.
things,
No, and they have to know.
yes, and one of the other things too is, as a traveler, one of the things you want to do sometimes, you want to have the ability, and we go back to the digital nomad. They like to book instantly. If they go on a Caribbean Airlines website and cannot get a flight to Tobago or to Trinidad, then they take the next option.
So it raises the question, having regard to the nascent or the beginning stages of the embryonic stages of our short stay industry, do you believe that the infrastructure to facilitate that is adequate, and how do you see it moving in the future? That is a prelude to another question that I have related to that.
So I believe that within the next 5 years, we should be able to build in the policies in terms of training, certification. I know TTAL has a program of certification, but we are really here to ensure that there are not only safety measures in place at short stay rentals, but there are also hospitality measures in place. There are also quality control measures in place, and we would like basically to work with TTAL and any other agency that provides these type of certification for short stay rentals.
Beautiful.
No, but one quick thing, right? When a guest stays in a hotel, right, well, which is BNB in Boko or Charlotte, the economy is impacted. Real nice,
Yeah.
right? It is. It hits the corner shops. It hits the local car rentals. Everybody get it. It hits the restaurants. What is your vision for the next 5 to 10 years? How central is the Short Stay Association to ensuring Tobago tourism boom and is felt by many and not just a few.
Well, unlike the hotels, what the short stay rental has, which we already spoke about, is the ability to bring people into a community and encourage them to spend. So you'd find that our short stay rental host would recommend a restaurant on the corner, they would recommend a tour guide, they would recommend a car rental, and most of them, because the guests have learned to trust the host recommendation, they will go there. So if you interview some of the properties in terms of businesses around most short stay rentals, they will tell you, okay, well, Lock Stay Tobago sent me here, or they arrange. And that is how we approach our guests.
Yes, sir. Right. The second part of the question that I asked earlier as a
Yes.
prelude, my friend asked us, so I will go in another direction. The financial requirements and the facilitation, whether it be the financial system, banks, credit unions, whatever. Um, how does that, in your view, and in the domestic context, um, would you would see it working or have not been working in order to sort of augment or fast track this necessity? And I'm saying that against the background that Trinidad and Tobago is a old oil and gas domain, and of course, having regard to environmental issues, it means therefore we cannot rely on that for the greenback, the foreign dollars. So,
Right.
what's
So-
your view on that?
So the financial institutions have not been very, I don't want to say very kind, but they have not been very flexible
I see.
in terms of dealing with how we can access US dollars.
US dollars.
Right? Most of hosts who get around it will decide to create accounts outside of Trinidad and Tobago to be able to facilitate credit card processing and so forth.
Wow.
How I know personally of a particular banks who are now trying to kind of implement payment processors that you can send a link to a guest for them to make a payment and stuff like that. However, the structure is still not as stable as what you would find where a guest can just pay with their credit card and you get the US and it goes to a US account. The process here is really kind of restrictive.
To meet holding back growth.
It is. It is.
To me, it's all in my
It
growth.
is. Where I could go online and open an account in the US, I can't even do that here. I have to wait. I have to submit how many documents.
Yes, yes.
They have to see me in person. I don't know why.
Yes,
I like to see people,
and
but I don't necessarily want to be in the
Yeah.
bank. You have to make an appointment to open an account. And I am saying that there are ways and there are systems that have been in place for years outside of Trinidad and Tobago that can be implemented. But I think that there is a risk aversion
Yeah.
that is normal with the financial institutions in Trinidad.
Well, clearly it speaks to the lack of a focus on ease of business that
Business.
would facilitate personal. And I want to focus there. Are the banks readily available in terms of loans? You talked about a credit line and all that, but is in terms of you? I am an entrepreneur. I want to start up a business of that nature,
Right.
short stay. From your experience, you go to the bank or the credit union, are they willing? Are they seeing that as good investment?
No.
I think they will quickly get a car.
Exactly.
They'll get a car.
Yes. Because when they do their risk analysis, especially after the pandemic, you find that they are less and less willing to lend to institutions that deal with hospitality
In general.
in general.
Yeah, but what your authorities have done, have you all reached out to the relevant authorities, let them know about the hamper that you all are getting when it coming to ease in business in that direction, which is holding back Trinidad and Tobagonians from really and truly the small businesses and them making money?
Right. So, as an association, newly formed association, that will be part of our mandate. As individual hosts, that didn't make sense
Okay.
Okay.
because they're not going to take you seriously.
Okay. But
So you have
that's
to
Right?
form a collective
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
and
You know, they
represent.
say there's power in numbers.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what's
Well,
happening.
Well,
I'll
yeah, but
take the
let us
chance
get
to.
your closing.
Okay.
Yes, let's get your closing comments to the people
No,
of
before
Trinidad.
that, I just want to ask. I take that philosophically. Um, I got the impression that the whole ethos of that is to generate community participation and to bring economic, if you want to call it economic ecosystem, right into the villages and the communities.
Correct, because that is one of the biggest draws of the SCR community. It is living like a local. That is the theme. That's the theme from Airbnb headquarters, living like a local. And it encourages guests. If you see, about the vibrant community that we have in Charlottesville and in Palatuvier and stuff like that, you find that what guests come for is to live like a local, and that's
Or
what
to live
we
like a local.
experience.
And
Yes.
then
Thanks
quickly.
so much. Thanks so much, Miss Ruth Cumberbatch, for joining us. I and all are very excited with what it is you all are about to do, and I wish you all the best in
Thank
the
you.
future.
I will
Thank
try
Trinidad
to
and
back in
Tobago,
the
we
future,
go
sir.
for
Thank you.
we go for the news and come back. When we come back, more right here on Talk City 91.1 FM. We'll be back. Nice. Trinidad and Tobago, pleasant good morning again. We are back. Time check, it's about 7 minutes past the hour of 7 o'clock. And you're listening to the Ground Report right here on Talk City 91.1 FM. I must say a pleasant good morning to all our drivers, maxi drivers, taxi drivers, PH drivers, bus drivers, seven-seaters. And I must say a pleasant good morning to Tobago, again, our sister Isle Tobago. And again, we are live, broadcasting live right here from the Cocoa Reef Hotel. Watch me, a magnificent hotel. And so long as it is, you're coming to Tobago, make sure you visit this hotel. It's real nice. As Lennox say, when we reach, we get a what?
Oh yes, we get a rum punch.
A rum punch. It was nice.
There's a secret to people.
Yeah, there's a
I
secret.
don't want her to believe that they try to junk we to keep we here because I ain't had no money.
Now, but the hotel is very, very, very,
Yeah,
very
yeah,
lovely.
yeah, but
so
other than that,
make sure you all visit. But we have with us right now Mr. Curtis Williams, President of the Tobago Division, Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce. A pleasant good morning to you, Mr. Curtis Williams.
Hi, good morning, guys, and it's a pleasure being here, and I'm happy that you're in Tobago. So Trinidad and Tobago to hear Tobago, because most of the times the guys don't hear what's happening in Tobago. I'm glad that you enjoy the hotel, and I know you're going to have a great stay here.
Yes,
Nice. Lennox Smith, I want you get off the ball, you know, because I want to hear Mr. Curtis, man.
We have been listening in Trinidad, even though we have not been here, but we thought we should be here in order to get it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. And of course, the business community seem to be generally reeling from certain what I consider to be either defects, inadequacies. It may tantamount to inefficiencies. I don't know, but we want to hear from you as to what are some of the issues. Having regard to the fact that it is well established that the 2025-26 budget, the largest in about 10 years, I believe it would have been, and one would have expected that things would be rolling in terms of not necessarily smoothly, with a little jagged edge, but we want to hear from you.
Okay, fine. Let's put it in
Like, for
context.
instance, what is
Yes.
the problems you all faced in
Yeah.
Tobago at this point in
All
time?
right, let's put it in
Go ahead.
context. We were happy that the announcement of the Marriott, that bring a stir of excitement among the business community. So a lot of folks was excited to hear that, the unveiling. So they're waiting for the soil turning ceremony, because that would bring a game changer to the island, definitely.
And of course, the airport.
Yes,
The
definitely.
expansion, yes.
But today now we have business, as you can see, is very sluggish on the island today.
Okay.
Some of our members are cropping with payments from suppliers. Let's say like the government. Let's give, for example, WASA. WASA haven't been paid some of our contractors here on the island for quite some months.
Oh, shucks,
I talking
man.
months like
In
about
Trinidad, it's going the same
8 to
way.
10 months. I'm
8 to
talking
10 months?
8 to 10 months of bills inside. So it's pretty hard for some of the SMEs on the island here. Some of those who provide them with water trucking, even some in security services, they haven't been paid. And this thing have been going on. It's very, very difficult. There are some of the workers, some of our workers have to be there, haven't got paid last month. And you have to just give them a 200 until you could get that money paid. So it's very, very difficult. And I hope that the powers to be hearing what's happening on the island in terms of some of the state enterprises treating payments to suppliers, service providers on the island. On the flip side of that now, the THA is trying its best to do what it has to do. So the THA is up in the ante in treating with payments of suppliers. Some of the suppliers are happy that the THA, definitely, with the increase in allocation, they're meeting their obligation. But the central government and the state enterprises, example, WASA, is a real problem on the island. Really
You may
problem.
wish to answer or not answer, whether directly, indirectly, but I mean, we on the ground report, we have to answer the question. Do you believe that, or is it possible that there's a nexus between the sabotaging of, as it has been reported in Trinidad, WASA facilities, and therefore creating, of course, a worsening problem in terms of delivery and the non-payment, as you have just mentioned, or the delay in payment of these contractors that would have worked, and therefore this somehow that issue came up suddenly, because for us we were surprised that 1, 2, 3 facilities people just sabotaging. We
But
are
you didn't
having
think
a
they getting that
difficult.
problems before that? Before them facilities were sabotaged, they wasn't paying the people. It is what
So,
it is.
so I want to hear from him.
But
And,
maybe,
Yeah, well, yeah.
is it a possibility? Is it not?
Well, when we look at the incident, they were all isolated, and it seems like the person who have done this terrible act to Wassa, it seems like they have knowledge of Wassa. You know, it seemed like, because to get into those electrical panels, you have to be brave to get down
Right.
there. You definitely have to be brave there. Now, some of these installations are just open. There are no security at these installations. They are open. They are outside the perimeters of the Wassa compound itself. You know, but I think that Wassa should step up the game in terms of patrols and look at these installations, because they are far in the east of Tobago, some of them, and they're not manned. So there are locations that little boxes and things that they leave with the pump stations, like the reservoirs and the other areas that outside the perimeter of the reservoirs. So it's important that they do patrols. Patrols is important. And we ask the TPPS to assist them as well, because they need assistance. Because Wassa, as I indicated, the moral in Wassa, it seems like the moral is a bit low. It's not as exciting as it used to be. I don't know what's happening inside there, but the moral,
Meaning the work ethics
the work
and-
ethics and
and
the
the-
moral, it seems
yeah.
a bit low.
no,
and
but
stuff
but
like
you're,
that.
you're complaining about Wassa is not paying your members and them. They're not paying them. And at the end of the day, your members have to pay taxes. Huh?
Oh yeah, well, oh man, don't even go there, because they look at it this way and simple, and let's do simple maths, and so
Yeah.
everybody could understand. When you owe a supplier for over 10 months, we're talking about 10 months of bills the supplier is sending to you every single month, and you're not paying him. Now he have obligations to meet. He have tax obligations. He have staff obligations. He have all these obligations to meet,
Overheads,
especially
etc.
especially staff and taxes. He have to pay VAT. He have to pay all these taxes, and he cannot meet his obligation. And now when he have to bid for new projects, they need to get clearance certificate, and he have to go to the Inland Revenue to get these. And I mean, his taxes is outstanding. So Inland Revenue will tell you, hey, you need to pay up your taxes, but you owe me. And then Inland Revenue now put interest on those taxes. So those taxes will attract interest and penalty, whilst your bill with the state enterprise, you can't put nothing on it. The most you could do is pray. You can't put nothing on that bill.
Pray, boy.
So you have to sit with there and wait and hope whenever someone call you and tell you there's a payment for you. And that's difficult. That's very difficult for SME in Tobago. We can't operate like that. Our pockets is not that deep as our fellow counterparts in Trinidad, who may have deeper pockets than us. We are small business operating on a small island of 60,000 people. And as a small businessman, it is very difficult to operate in these instances.
I like to use a word. So would we be able to say in the layman terms, technically, there that Wassa is technically, when they're not paying all the thief and all that? No, that's my term. Because that will come like to me. So Wassa is technically thieving contractors, really and truly, because again, if it is the provider service, you all give the service. Now for payment, they don't want to pay you. That come like a con man. That come like that's against the law. That is bad. So technically, could I say that Wassa is breaking the law by not paying contractors that give service?
And well, you put it in your layman terms, but I would say it is something that Wassa must understand, and all service providers especially must know. And because the new OPR in law stated that in order to award someone a contract, you must have the money to pay them. And I don't understand why 9-10 months of you sending continuous bills upon bills and you're not getting paid as a small business operating in Tobago. And I can imagine in Trinidad, the other business and them are suffering because this thing is throughout. So we in Tobago, we are at the stage where some of our workers haven't been paid for last month, and they're threatening to industrial action. They may walk off a job. And who you want to blame now? You're going to blame me now and said, oh, your workers is this. But if you're not getting paid, if you're not getting money to pay these workers, how can you survive?
That's bad, eh? That's bad. Because again, the government of Trinidad and Tobago, at the end of the day, whether it be Wassa, whether it be Tea and Tech, whether it be whatever industry the government runs, when the people provide a service, the government of all
Within a
people should be
reasonable
setting
time.
that standard and paying people. Because at the end of the day, the average person who in business have to pay the government.
That's correct. That's correct. We try to meet all our obligations, NIS, because you have to pay your NIS. Imagine if you miss your NIS, the penalty is automatically 25%. And the next day is 25% interest going on, and then you have interest that keep going on and on and on and on. But this, again, as I said, that the authority must understand, the government must understand that when you're employing small business, especially in Tobago, I mean, a timely payment, we could go for 60 days. We may stretch it to 90 days. But 9 months, 10
Oh,
months,
God.
that's too much. That's way too much.
I like the diplomatic way you address direct question
Yeah.
earlier, which is, of course, when you said that the apparent or the alleged sabotaging of WASA facilities or installations, you are not averse to the possibility that there are people who may be familiar with the installations, and that therefore I interpret that to mean that there are people who have worked on it and may not have gotten paid.
Oh, no.
No, that's my
No, that's the interpretation.
I give
No.
it there.
Oh, no.
But
no.
I say with you,
Yes.
that's my interpretation. But going further, this matter of the WASA outstandings, has it to do at all with the THA?
Nothing at all with the THA. THA is not involved in that. This is the contractor and WASA. This have nothing to do with
direct.
the THA.
WASA
Direct.
as a national
Yes, yeah, definitely.
service provider
That's correct.
with respect to water.
That's
Now, but
correct.
then, Trinidad and Tobago, I want to call on the Honorable Minister of Public Utilities, the Honorable Barry Pardap, to deal with the situation when it comes into the chamber across here and the, in Tobago, so I had to talk about Tobago and organizing to put the payments in place, because again, with angry workers and angry workers knowing, let me be real, again, this is Andy the Pitbull saying that, with angry workers knowing that here it is, they're hungry because payments from us are not coming to their boss, anything is possible. Again, I'm not saying workers or anybody, but people tends to, when they believe they're getting advantage, to find ways and means in lashing back out, especially when it comes to paying bread and butter on the table. So Mr. Barry Pardap here, really and truly, this is something that many contractors are complaining about. They're not getting paid. So here it is. If all in all, do have the money, do not give out the work. And don't do it. If all you do have the money, do give the work. Lennox, you go ahead.
Listen to you. You mentioned about 10 months thereabout. But my concern, has there been adequate communications as to why and the possibility of when, so that at least you'll be much more tolerant and understanding of what are the impediments, what are the what are the hurdles that has created such a lengthy delay?
You use nice words, tolerant. Can I be tolerant to the bank when I have to pay my mortgage? Can I tell the
Well
bank,
said.
hey, postpone that till next week now? Can I tell my employees, hey, no money, no pay today, you're getting paid until I don't know, but when they tell me you're going to get paid? Can you live like that? Remember, these folks are folks that work for bare minimum salary. And you're telling someone, wait now, hold on till when? There are kids to feed and their families. So, I mean, in my instance, we employ over 200 plus families. We don't employ individuals, we employ families in Tobago. And these folks are not highly paid. So hence the reason why it's important that they get the timely payments of their salary. And you can't tell somebody, hold on, and they have to get paid. I can't tell the bank, well, I don't know yet, but hold on. Whenever
For what's
and
the
whenever,
payment?
So-
right? No, we got assurance that, yes, something will be done, but when?
Oh, I see.
How? What? There's so much questions. And then now, as I said, month end gone, no money.
You ain't see
And
nothing.
nothing.
And then you know what to
So
find that money to pay
don't
them.
take that
Yeah, but you're doing
generally
that
as a
every single month. So what you do, you erode your cash flow. You want to understand the economics of business. You erode your cash flow over 9 to 10 months. You have been looking for money just to meet your obligation in different areas. And that's unfair. That's unfair for SME. It's totally unfair. It's really totally unfair.
Yeah. So I take that as a
yeah,
no.
yeah,
I think
definitely.
that's the direct answer to that
Wow.
question as a no. In terms of the organization that you head, tell us what are some of the major achievements? What are some of the just say the operational parameters that you treat with in terms of your members in order to keep them together one, and of course to keep body and soul together, because clearly it seems to be a very fragile scenario in Tobago.
Definitely. But what we have done, up to yesterday, we was in a meeting with the Secretary of Finance,
Mhm.
and the THA is doing their bit in THA is definitely doing their bit across
Their
here.
part, okay.
Definitely. The THA,
They're advocating.
I must say the THA reach out to the Tobago division of the chamber, and the THA is doing their part. And we spoke about, but you know, their budget is coming up.
Yes.
So we were talking things that affecting us as small business, and the THA is definitely doing their part. And I'm happy to know that the coordination or the communication between the Secretary for Finance and the chamber and even some of the other secretaries is really, really
Very
cordial
great.
and really, really, really good. So at least at the end of the tunnel, we can see a future for business in Tobago through the Tobago House of Assembly. But when we come back now, let's look and see what's happening in the space today.
Mhm.
And that's why we talk about what's happening now and where we need some kind of ignite. Something to be happening because things is really, really slow now. We see that, no, we know for sure May, June always a dead time, but it really dead. I mean, just now we got to put a wreath on the casket.
Oh,
Because
gosh.
it really, really, really slow, and we need some stimulant. In order to stimulate a small economy or a small space like Tobago, the fastest thing to do is construction. That's the fastest thing to put money into to get anything moving in a space like Tobago. Because if you try any other if you're going to build a hotel, it takes time. If you're going to build a restaurant, it will take time. But construction could be that stimulus that could really get people into place. So the construction would hire the non-skilled person. So all who looking for the morning work from the THA, no. You will come and do a meaningful 8-hour work at the construction site. So we're talking about, so the THA had to focus on construction to stimulate the Tobago public to get things moving because we need to get this dead thing up.
Construction such as, like, for instance, homes. Like,
No, construction of things to be done in Tobago.
Tobago.
Like right there's some sidewalks, there's even the housing projects and,
Housing
and all these.
civil.
That's correct.
Yeah.
All these bits of
Civil
construction
engineering.
with a road and etc. that we could, the private contractors and them could employ, or members could employ Tobagonians, because there's a lot of Tobagonians out there who want a job. They want a meaningful job. They want an 8-hour job. They don't. Some of them don't like the morning thing. That's not there. And there are plenty of trade men here that need to work. And hence the reason why we say construction is the fastest way to get the Tobago really bubbling. Once
starting with the infrastructure of Tobago.
That's correct.
So I think we touched on the macroeconomy, micro, and of course that has to do as well how viable or how efficient the economy operates in Tobago with some of the decisions that are being made, whether from the various arms of the THA and the executive, etc. I said all that to ask you if you have been approached or if you have approached the decision makers in terms of finding a way that the THA can be able independently to seek funding from bilateral or multilateral institution, separate and apart from having to, of course, get the authority from the Trinidad base, of course, Minister of Finance or the Exchequer. Yeah.
Well, that was a conversation in the space in one of our meetings
Mhm.
in terms of the THA seeking external funding, etc. And I think they should. I mean, the minister may give them the green light going ahead with these projects. A simple one that they started was the Tobago Development Fund.
Mhm.
The Tobago Development Fund was established just recently, and that was established to assist small business on the island who need to seek funding. So what the THA decided is to give you a loan guarantee. So
I
the
see.
THA will guarantee the loan. So you go to the bank and you don't have enough collateral, the THA will go up to 80% and assist you in getting that loan so that you'll be able to do business expansion, you'll be able to do working capital and stuff like that. So which is really good, and I think the SMEs and them, you need to put their ducks in order, and that's the challenge. Some of the SMEs don't have the ducks in order. There are gaps in the qualifying for this
I see.
service.
But I want to go more directly at what you're referring to. I assume is resources that would have come from the National Treasury. But I'm talking about giving the THA the autonomy, the authority to go directly to whosoever, the multilateral, wherever they could find them, and of course bring the resources, because they are focused on Tobago, and therefore they would, I'm sure, be very concerned about those businesses that you refer to that are floundering at this point in time. The unemployment situation will, of course, be of concern to them. But if they have the legislative teeth to
Correct.
go out there and borrow money in order to satisfy the Tobago economy. I wanted to know if that kind of discussion would have taken place.
Definitely, that discussion had taken place, and here we come to But I know before the previous THA, they did borrow some funds, and now this present one have to pay it back. But again, borrowing the funds and doing meaningful things with it is important.
Yeah, yeah,
So you
yes.
can't borrow the funds just to spend, but you have to borrow the funds to do a bit of investment so that you get a return on it, right? Because you have to pay back the funds.
That's right. That's
Right?
right. You have to
So
find sources
that's
to-
correct.
ways to
So
pay
so even if you borrow
Must be investment
$100
funds.
million, you must put some of that into some kind of investment vehicle so that that funds over a period of time will be able to pay back, from the returns of that investment. And I see that happening in small spaces, and I applaud the THA for that. And they're going forward to doing other things that they look at. Even one, as I indicated to you, they look at grant funding and even attracting investors on the island. So we're hoping that with all the talk and all the excitement that we have investors, foreign investment, foreign direct investment coming into
Coming
the
into-
island.
Yes.
Right, because we have 2 minutes
minutes,
again.
2 minutes, yes.
Yeah, public-private partnership. Your vision is, what is your vision, in fact, for deepening the collaboration between the THA and the private sector to move projects from ideas to execution?
That have two parts to it. The excitement is, yes, we like it sounds good. But sometimes when you're going to do these public-private partnership, we're looking at local content.
Content, yes.
And if you look at local content, our pockets are not deep.
Not deep enough.
It's not deep enough.
And at any rate, it will not take you away from the THA not being able to provide the capital in order to satisfy.
That's correct.
At the end of the day.
That's right. So so that is the reason why we have to sometimes go beyond Tobago, looking for that investment.
In 1 minute time,
That
tell me
investment.
what you vision for your organization and of course Tobago in general.
Well, I mean, with the advent of the Marriott coming in and the opening of the new terminal building, the industry, there's a little buzz happening now. Everybody's trying to get yourself in some state of readiness. Get yourself ready. We're talking about labor, we're talking about skilled workers. Get yourself ready. Don't be left out. Contractors, get yourself ready. Farmers, fishermen. These hotels will ask for things, and you must be able to supply them. So you have to put yourself in a state of readiness to supply them. They will look at local consumption, and if they cannot get it, they will definitely go elsewhere. So you, the Tobagonians, you, the businessman in Tobago, have to understand that if you cannot supply the hotels and the investors with what they need, especially the hotels, they will go elsewhere. So you can't blame nobody. So hence the reason why we're asking all of you, get yourself in a state of readiness for this advent of that boom that will be coming in the tourism sector.
In 1 second, did the expansion of the airport do that?
The expansion of the airport and the advent of Marriott is the excitement that now happens in this space.
All
Thank you
right.
very much.
Thanks so much, Mr. Curtis Williams, Trinidad and Tobago, President of the Tobago Division, Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industries and Commerce. Thanks so much. So we go for a quick break and come back. When we come back, more right here on the Ground Report. We'll be back.
In Tobago.
We are back. We are back. We are back. Time check. It's approximately 34 minutes past the hour of 7 o'clock. And you're listening to the Ground Report right here on Talk City 91.1 FM. Let me say a pleasant good morning to all of you that are locked on to us on our social media platform. Yes, Talk City 91.1 FM on Facebook, Talk City 91.1 FM on YouTube. And to all of you that are in your maxis, your taxis, your PH vehicles, your 7-seaters, good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Well, you all know we are live from Tobago because we are in Tobago, yes, and enjoying our stay right here at the Cocoa Reef Hotel Resort. Beautiful hotel, man. Watch me, when you come to Tobago, you have to visit the Cocoa Reef Hotel Resort. I find this program, we should have finished off the week right here at this resort, man. Right? First, it's nice.
I agree. And of course, I want to thank the management and staff for such a wonderful accommodation. They came in yesterday and it was rum punch. I'm going to take some more, but they said that if we do that, they may not have the kind of cash flow that is required, having regard to what we just heard.
Yeah.
But that being as it may, we are very, very, very comfortable and comforted that this is the location that we are beaming from. Of course, I want to say that whilst it was advertised that Karen Bath Alexander will be with us in this segment, that will not be. She will, of course, she has been deferred to the other segment, that is to say when off the records come in. But yes, you will still get her because she is a tower of power, and I know her very, very personally, and I thought I would have loved and relished the opportunity to interview her this morning because I think we are singing this from the same hymn book, and of course we have a similar perspective as to how communities and therefore Trinidad and Tobago should develop. But that being as it may, we have of course Mr. Larry Richards, of course,
Yes.
the leadership architect. I like that architect. Yes, a leadership architect. You know, it reminds me of social re-engineering.
Yes.
You know, so things of that nature. Of course, it's abstract. It's part of the humanities, but of course, it has the same objective of improving lives. Yes, indeed, of course, and his take is, of course, in the area of good institutions that must play, of course, a very vital role in development. And, of course, decision-making processes are very important. After all, we are a democracy, government by the people, of the people, and for the people. And what that simply means is that the people must participate, one, and two, the people must benefit. And if that is not happening, then it means there is some kind of dysfunctionality or disconnect. That being as it may, Andy, you want to start off, or you want me to continue?
Boy. Well, some of the questions I would love to ask here, right? Such as for the average Tobagonian, why does the strength of an institution like the THA or the Port Authority matter just as much as the actual buildings or ships they manage? How do strong institutions protect a country's development from political or economical instability?
All right. Thank you, and thanks for having me.
Yes.
Yes.
The thing about, just to clarify, it's not just humanities alone. I'm a doctoral student in terms of business. So
Business, okay,
So I'm
so-
looking at leadership
All right,
from
so-
the aspect of business.
So he's a man of my heart.
Right.
Great.
So the thing about strong institutions is that they are the conversion. You have the politicians, you have the institutions themselves. Like say, for example, our problem in Tobago may not necessarily be about money, but about strong institutions in terms of the conversion.
Yeah.
If you look at St. Vincent, for the same amount, they're able to convert, say, a $100 bill into 60, whereas we only convert from 100 into 40. And you have to ask yourself, why? Why? So many times as well, so just like the THO or the port, say, for example, we use a ship. Now, the ship is only as good as, say, for example, you have a competent captain,
Yeah.
you have a good navigation system, and you know the proper operating procedures and so on. So it's the same thing as well with institutions. Institutions means that, say, for example, they're clear about the purpose, they are clear about the systems that they have, they're clear about how they actually go about converting those things as well too. The thing about politics as well too, we have a 4-year or 5-year cycle. And in our thing here, in the Caribbean, and not just in Tobago alone, at the end, when you change administration, everything goes through the door. There's no continuity and so on. So the thing between the difference between strong institutions and weak institutions is about continuity, clarity of purpose, everything else that goes with it.
Okay.
Right? So that's the whole idea of having strong institution and the part they play in your economic development, your national development, etc. Those things are really important. And we would have seen, not just in Tobago alone, where, say for example, you try to get you try to get your birth paper. It may take a whole day to do that. Look at other countries, how easy it is. You don't actually have to go and you can do an app because everything is there, continuation, etc. What we come here, we may have a good plan, but because we didn't do it, I mean, like the change in the administration, they change everything else. So that's why it's important that we have these things and people understand the role that these things, how these things happen as well too. Because it even goes to say, for example, how we recruit people, how we put people on boards and so on, right? Many times we think that board membership is a political reward. My party is in power, so I am selected. And again, it is not exempt just for Tobago alone. We see it happening all the time. So these are some of the things we need to look at, making sure that the processes are there, there's continuation, that good projects get followed through. Now, the danger is that sometimes as well, so we start a project, but it doesn't continue. You spoke earlier, why doesn't projects continue? These are some of the things we need to look at in terms of the systems and the processes that they put in place.
So you believe it's damaging, it is damaging the progress of Tobago?
Yes, not just Tobago, in any small island state, any development process. You need to have those things.
Yeah. So I understand what you're saying from an abstract or intellectual or academic perspective, but one has to also be pragmatic because there's a cultural element as well, learned behavior generally, and if it is that the institution does not have the tenets in terms of ethics, moral, transparency, accountability, and those who are there, because it's human beings you are that control or are in these institutions, so to make them function as idyllic as you have just described.
Yes.
But the fact is, we have, for example, in the politics, political patronage is a reality in democracy.
Yes.
I will not take you as a stranger and make you the Minister of Finance.
No.
Right?
You need a certain level of trust. You need a certain level of trust that you
that person is capable of. So I want you to speak to those matters because we can be, as I said, as idyllic as possible. We could be, pedantic, academic, but the fact is that we have a situation, and I want you to also focus on how we move to where you have started. Right? Go ahead.
No, and your point is very valid because it's a reality.
Yeah.
We were seeing that, say, for example, decisions are being made and you ask why they're being made.
Yes.
And when you look and see who are making the decision, you could understand.
Right.
So sometimes as well, to those that they put there, just like, I don't like to use the word puppet, but they have to take instructions, right? Because it's a 4-year cycle. I need to be rehired after 4 years or re-elected after 4 years. Now, that part is hard, right? Now, the only way you can see it is you have to show them the benefit of continuity, right? People doesn't change. Don't matter how much you speak, people doesn't change unless they could see a real benefit to the change. So you have to convince the politicians and the decision makers that this is the right way. This is what we want to do. Because you yourself, as you rightly said, they don't believe in abstraction. They believe in something concrete that they can do. So that's where the conversation have to start. Probably one-on-one, probably you become an advocate for them. You show them, right? You show them small wins and how they can benefit from this.
Who you believe must take the bull by the horn? Is it that the politicians themselves who are in the system, or those who, or the citizenry in general?
Right, the public service. In this here, the public service have a role to play.
Right.
Also, the private sector also have a role to play. So let's start with
the general citizen.
Yes, in terms of accountability. But that's where the culture change. Our national culture is not one to hold people accountable. So hence people get away with a lot of things.
For instance, you understand that it will have political patronage.
Yes.
No problem. But don't give you a political patronage with a square peg wrong. We put somebody that you trust, but that know the business.
Like say for
I'm
example,
willing to carry it forward.
like in terms of board selection. I like how Jamaica and Barbados are doing it. In Jamaica, you have to write an exam, you put your name up, you go through, so they have a pool of people. So they select from that. That's part of how they say, for example, and that's why to a certain extent Jamaica have a more efficient public service compared to us. Barbados is also going in a similar direction as well too. We haven't evolved to that extent, but it doesn't mean that we're not capable of doing it. So, but it takes political will to do that, because remember, you're giving up something, and you have to ask yourself. The politician will ask, "What am I giving up?"
For the greater good.
Yes, but they will not say. But we always don't think for the greater good. We think for the greater good of ourselves.
Yeah,
That's the real.
No,
but then
who
again-
are conscious.
Yes.
Who are conscious.
Right.
Right. Thinking that way.
Right. So
And
this
that's to influence
right.
the others.
Go
No,
ahead.
but then again, I wouldn't say that they're giving up anything anyhow, because again, in the pool,
Mhm.
could have their people at the end of the day,
Right.
I must say, whereby they have to select anyhow, and so long as your people pass the test,
Right.
you put them.
Exactly.
If they don't pass the test,
That-
then you think.
Yeah, but one of the problems that I observe that we have here in Tobago is in terms of our human capital and human potential. Who have the capacity? Should have the capacity to perform at that high level, right? So again, if you're using political patronage, they will still select the people that they figure will be more loyal. But sometimes what is missing is the competencies to be able to perform at such a high level. Like say, for example, growing the economy. Right? What does it take to grow the economy? Curtis would have spoken about, say, for example, getting the fishermen ready, getting the farmers ready. But remember as well, the hotels have the standards by which they operate. So you have to look at things as if traceability, production level, all of those different things. So these things need to be put in place. It's not just about going and catch fish. It's not just about planting. It's how you process, how you store, all those things that the hotel is. Because remember, if the guests get sick, they have to choose
Yeah,
to which
and the
farm,
repercussions.
or when you planted, what plot you planted it, all those sort of stuff. Do we have those systems in place? So we may say about the benefits coming, but are we ready to uphold ourselves to the standard? So you see how much more training is required to do that. But it takes somebody at that level to understand all of these processes.
Yes. Okay, let's take a practical scenario, a practical current scenario. The ski
Yes.
scenario.
Yeah.
The THA has gone by way of legislation
Yes.
to remedy that.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to speak to that and whether or not that is maybe the nascent stage or the embryonic stage of going where you would like the system to go, notwithstanding all of the defects that we have identified.
Right. So the thing about over legislation, we do want to be reactive. To say, for example, every time something happens, right, we always need to get to the root cause of something. And you have to ask yourself, did they get to the root cause of why this happened? And probably when you understand the root cause, that's why legislation may be required afterwards. I don't know the root cause. I don't know the reasons why they may have done the legislative implication.
Because
as well
I'm
too.
coming to the next arm of it, which is, of course, some of the stakeholders who have been actively involved in the operationalization of that industry, so to speak, people call that industry or that
Yes,
business,
yes.
said that they won't consult it.
And
Therefore, do you get buy-in in spite of your good intention? Go ahead.
and many times in that you do get buy-in. You know why? Because you may over-legislate, but your legislation now affect my livelihood.
Right.
And that's the thing here. So you try to solve a problem, but is it a problem or is it the root cause? Remember, the root cause is the underlying mechanisms. The root cause is the symptoms of what we see, the visibility part. That is the manifestation of those underlying mechanism. So unless the legislation deal with the underlying mechanism, it's always going to manifest itself in another way. And so when you think you're providing a solution, you don't have a solution. You have a one fix. How much, and that will only address that one thing there, the jet skis. What else is happening? We would have seen that, say, for example, that people start becoming very innovative and creative. So you see the selling pillory in the pools and all that sort of stuff, and trying to do different things to encourage people to come. Yes, so that builds out innovation and all that aspect. But does the legislature consider all of those different things that the people are doing?
Parameters.
Your legislation may have the inadvertent effect at cutting that out.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm glad that you went that route because based on what you have explained, it means, therefore, that if it is not sufficiently comprehensive, and are using of the same marine legislation that was recently passed in the THA assembly, it may solve the politicians' problem.
Yes.
But they're not solving it.
Because it's visible. It's visible. Yes. Right. So I am doing my reasonable due diligence, my judiciary responsibility.
They take
But the
themselves out.
stakeholders out there are saying, listen, you never consulted me.
Right? How am I supposed to implement it? Like, say, for example, they spoke about the reef boats now,
Yes.
having the life vests, having all of that, having a pier where they could enter and so on. But then they have to say, okay, 100 life vests cost this, I now have to add it onto my ticket.
Oh.
Communication costs this, I have to add it onto my ticket. Now, when they do the stuff now,
Because you can't afford it.
Prohibitive.
Wow,
This is
so you
bust.
try to implement one way, but you kill it in your next.
yes. So the thing is that here they're not system thinkers. You have to think about the whole ecosystem.
Yes, sir.
So when they're doing the legislation, they're looking at one aspect, but there's a bigger aspect outside here as well, too, that you also need to incorporate. And so
Or
do we
you
think,
overlooked.
yeah,
You overlooked.
right?
Yeah,
and
because
because
it costs
and the
more.
reason why we do that, you see, when we are in a hurried mode, our focus, that's just how our minds design. We tend to focus very narrowly.
Exigency.
Yeah, so you want a
exigency of the
quick fix,
situation,
but there are so many other factors that's taking place.
that you cause you to overlook it, and therefore you create a situation that you thought you'd be mending or ameliorating,
Yes.
but you make it worse.
Yes, exactly.
What you would say, in other words, is before politicians legislate, especially like, for instance, like what happened or many other things, based on what they should consult with the people
Yes,
to
it's-
get the overall, as they say.
Yes, because you remember, laws are created for a particular reason. We want to make sure there's harmony between everybody,
And it's
right?
fair.
And it's fair, and the application is understood, and whatever, right? But when you leave out the major stakeholders, you create a certain level of imbalance. And then when something else happens now, you start blaming those same stakeholders when you're the one who created the hindrance for them.
Because you leave them.
Because you left them out. Nobody asked me what were some of my concerns and what should I do.
But just now we had the two interviews ago. We had the head of the local chamber of industry and commerce here, and the issue of the sabotaging of some of the
Utilities.
installations of WASA,
Mm-hmm.
and I asked the pointed question. Listen, because he was very adamant that the contractors connected to WASA
Mm-hmm.
weren't getting paid. In fact, 10 months hence, and they still have to beg for what they earned.
Right.
And I asked, and I tried to make a nexus. Of course, he evaded it, but I expected that. But so I bring it to you because you use a system,
Use a system, man.
engineering, social man. And I said, is it possible that the very contractors may have, in a sense, let me put it nicely, do you believe there's a nexus between, of course, the sabotaging and the fact that these people did not get paid?
All right. So
Yeah.
disclaimer. There is a possibility because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you're trying to get people attention.
Right.
So sometimes, well, people do stuff like that, right? Try to get attention. When you do the investigation, it may not be me, but it's damage, and then in your mind now, probably it's the contractors, and we need to
Not directly, but
we need to prevent this from happening. So sometimes it's a way of starting the conversation to see it was important. So it is possible.
It is possible.
I'm not saying that we don't have any proof,
Yeah.
but it is possible because that's the nature of human being, how we deal with our frustration
Yes.
Yeah.
and all that sort of stuff.
And then the contractor now could talk to the relevant authority and say, well, it's not we, but we can't put aside the workers that we're not paying, that we are not paying because they're not paying us.
Exactly. So,
Yeah,
so,
so it
so
opens a
you're right. So,
conversation.
those are the things. So now it brings us back to, like, say, for example, even when we're owing people, start having a conversation with people.
Yeah.
So let people know exactly what are some of our challenges.
And watch out something, and I like how you just talk system because the same way now WASA looking into organizing to have, let me say, securities, which that's an next course.
Right, which we may not
When you
necessarily
can just pay.
exactly, and that may not happen. So you see now, you decide to hold back, you get damaged, you pay a security. How long are you going to hold the security and then before? Now it may benefit the security firm, But is that what you really want to over
Yeah, you want
securitize
people to be
your
responsible.
operation
You
and
want people to not
exactly.
Because you don't want to
engage
pay.
in anti-social
Exactly,
behavior.
but the thing that it's here now, if you have everybody happy, some of those same people will take care
Well,
of your
watch here.
insulation for
Where's the
you,
work?
right? Because you know it's a win-win situation, right? So those are some of the things on them as well. And I hope that, say, for example, like with leaders and even managers and so on, when they make decision, think about the consequences. Who, okay, if I
In
do this,
totality, there
who
must
am
everything
I
needs to be.
affecting when I put these things in
Yeah.
place? Am I affecting everybody else? Who does I see that I didn't see that I need to consider as well?
The role of civil society organizations in the society, and to, of course, effect, because I mean, you have all kinds of purpose-driven
Hmm.
entities emerge, whether it's for blood, whether it's for heart, or whether it's for children, whether it's for for animals, and we can go on and on, the whole gambit. Do you think that there's a need for more of that, or what exists must play a more
I, I think both.
fervent role
I think
in,
both.
in, in the process? Go ahead.
I think both. Like say for example, for those who are already in it, we have to ask ourselves: are we making an impact?
Right.
And many times, what does our impact look like, and how can we make more of an impact? Right? And I still think that they do because civil societies cannot. One civil society cannot handle everything.
Everything, obviously.
Right.
That's
So
why you have
obviously, and that's why the
to
other
thorough.
formation of other civil society can attack those other things, but we still meet together as an overall body to discuss some of the challenges and the issues that we're having. Because the role of civil society is outside of the politicians. It's about the regular citizens who may still put forward a solution. Because remember, at the end of the day, the politicians don't know everything. They cannot afford to know
Of
everything
course.
and so on. And it's sometimes it's the civil society to focus on those other aspects. To say, for example, we spoke about the legislation, but then for the legislation with the skin, but then other civil society will say that, well, we met with other stakeholders and we were told that you did not take into consideration and so on.
Yeah.
So we are advocating that the legislation be changed or modified to accommodate them as well too.
That's
And that's the role that these civil society plays as well too, because a politician will just focus on this, that, because that is what the mandate required.
Yeah.
They're not social scientists. They probably don't even have, some of the ministries may not have a research arm
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all those sort of stuff. So I think that all these bodies together does play an overall part in the whole national development.
We have about 4 minutes again to go, and this is a very, 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 very good question because I like you. You see, from Curtis Williams now, I'm telling you, I like how Tobagonians do it in a straightforward train. I did start to follow suit. To if you were to blueprint the idea of leadership structure for Tobago for the next 10 years, what would be the very first pillar you would put in the ground?
A professional, competent, merit-based public service that is insulated from politicians.
I'm glad that you mentioned that, because
Wow.
here comes my other question as an addendum to that, and that is, what is your view of political parties in terms? Is it that they are too uh, power in office, or seeking power because it exists, or the opportunity exists, or is it that they must have a national agenda in order to, of course, be relevant, and that the very issues of transparency, accountability, democracy, human rights, and all of the other things, including a legislative agenda that is concomitant with what is required, as we saw with, of course, the THA recently.
I think in a democracy, we have to make choices,
Yeah.
right? Except that you're in North Korea or your artificial democracy
Russia.
like in Russia and so
Yeah,
on.
Russia
But
or Iran.
political parties have the role in terms of mobilizing the population into what's important and so on. And sometimes they're built on different philosophies, so you're going to attract different types.
Is it to only get into power? That's the point. I want to
No,
speak to.
no, it's more than getting into power. They
Go ahead.
play a part in national development
Right.
because they control the resources. Who control the resources and how the resources are going to be directed, right? Like, say, for example, I knew Mia for a long time since she was at UE,
Mhm.
right? and she have grown over the years, but she cares about national development, world politics, and how Barbados is positioned into that. So she have the right attitude as to, and you're seeing where Barbados economy is starting to grow since she is molding it and all
Yeah.
that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing for here. Who control the resources and how the resources, and who control the access and who have access to the resources? What does national development looks like? What does respect looks like? What does value creation look like? What about, say, for example, a man who wants to start up a business to live his full aspiration? What does that looks like? The politician is supposed to create that enabling environment, and that's the role. That enabling environment in which we can aspire to be the best we can be. That is what they're supposed to do, and that's the role of political party. I am going to compete against you because my method and my way of creating the best aspirations, the most practical way, that's my answer, and that's what we put forward. Let the population choose.
And finally, from me, there is a school of thought that talks about the.
But hold one pin.
Oh.
It is 8 o'clock.
Is it 8 o'clock? Oh.
Yes, it is 8 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock.
I-
So here what we're gonna do.
So
we're
you're
gonna
running
say
out of time.
thanks so
right, we're
much.
out of time, we're
Thanks
out
so much. Oh boy, thanks so
You're welcome,
much.
man. Thank you.
Yeah, we have to go for the news.
Yes,
All
I
right.
hope it is.
All right.
Yes, man.
Thanks again.
Yes, man.
Much
Nah, man.
appreciated.
Yes, man.
Thank you.
And we have your number, so we all should be calling you.
All right. No problem.
we are back. We are back. We are back. Time check. It's about 8 minutes past the hour of 8 o'clock, and you're listening to the Ground Report right here on Talk City 91.1 FM. Obviously, with yours truly, the pitbull of radio, Andy Williams, and the big word man, Lennox Smith. And we are broadcasting live from Tobago. Yes, we are broadcasting live from Tobago, from the Cocoa Reef Hotel Resort. What a magnificent hotel. And I must say, so long as you're visiting Tobago, make sure you visit the Cocoa Reef Hotel Resort. Now, what's man? Only the beach is like a pool. It's still, it clean, it nice, it's beautiful. The scenery in the Cocoa Reef Hotel here, real nice, I must say. And Lennox Smith will say
Everything invited, but I will stay away from cocoa today.
Yeah.
All right? Yes, I'll stay away from cocoa. Of course, we want to thank the management and staff for accommodating us. I mean, with a superlative service that, as Andy rightly said, we recommend for anyone that is visiting Tobago, whether it be from Trinidad or farther afield. That being as it may, we have with us, of course, Mr. Alvin Douglas, who, of course, is the Director, Tobago Marine Safety and Security Services. And you would get where we are coming from, because there are so many things happening in the marine environment in Tobago. Yeah, we have terrorists, we have territorial, but we also have marine, and because of the issues and the topical matters that now engaging, not just here in Tobago, but of course Trinidad and farther afield, because people will want to know what is happening in Tobago, even though, of course, it's a place green and serene and the place to be, the best kept secret in the world, and yet still you are getting those kinds of news. It is not all going well, of course, for persons who would like to visit us. Now, we want to tell you, rest assured, action has been acted, and of course, the people who are responsible have actively been engaged in remedying this situation. I can tell you, we are satisfied. If the ground report is satisfied, just come to Tobago, man.
So we're going to talk about the latest incident. Would you be able to address the
Well, no,
latest?
generally, because we have one that that we mentioned earlier that we thought we should do, because the head of the Tobago Emergency Management Agency was here with us, and they are coordinating that incident up in the east there. So
Yeah.
we want to hear from you. I assume that you were part and parcel of it, or not?
I was called to render assistance in the in-water search
Uh-huh.
because one of the things that Tobago Marine Safety and Security does is respond. We provide a quick response in the unlikely event of an incident on the coast. So that's what we're there for. That's what we. And yesterday we got a call first thing in the morning. So we mobilized a team of rescue divers and rescue swimmers, and we went to make the assessment. And we made a initial search. We are going to go back again today.
Oh, you go back to the.
Oh yeah, we'll go back.
And tell me as well, because that too has left a bitter taste in many, in terms of skepticism.
Yeah.
So we want, one of the reasons we are here, let me tell you frankly, we want to eliminate all of that. We want to say that Tobago is up, ready for business, and that is just an aberration.
Yeah.
And so, of course, unfortunately, one after the next may have created some skepticism or some trepidation on potential Trinidadian visitors, as well as those beyond. With respect to the jet ski incident and the death of that
the
child,
young
what role you played, and what might have been some of the, what I consider people, anybody who might have overlooked certain fundamentals that would have created that unfortunate incident.
Well, what I would start by saying is that it's not true, or it's not directly true that we haven't been working as an island towards regulating the coastline.
Okay.
Actually, I was a part of a committee formed to figure out the best way to manage the Boko Reef. And that committee comprised of rescue personnel like myself, dive shops, people who are involved in the fisheries, and we would have a lot of the things that you would have heard in the bill were things that would have been discussed at the committee level. So that was very unfortunate. I'm excited that a bill like that is going to come in because I see it, I personally see it as
And
the marine bill.
Yes.
And it's not the first time that Tobago has attempted to have legislative
Effect
teeth
such a
when it comes to the coastline.
okay.
And that is one of the main problems. It is not the only problem. It is one of the pillars. You have to appreciate that it's an eco-sensitive area, and that first and foremost must be said. So when we say park, it's not there for us. In fact, the amount of people on that park should be limited because it's a nursery and it feeds all the other the reef formations around the island. It's a natural harbor, so when you have a storm in the area, the fishermen and they will go in for shelter. It also has I think the largest amount of seagrass in the country. It's the only protected area, protected marine space in
But
Trinidad
what
and
would you
Tobago.
say to critics who say that, listen, if it is an old problem, how come? You understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah,
How come?
yeah. Well,
If it's an old problem.
the thing is, I could understand the reactive approach of the administration by pushing for legislative teeth because most of the people that apply on the are law-abiding. They make them. I am one of the few people on the island that are homegrown and have made our living from the coastal environment, tourism, and we've survived. And the naysayers will not know this because it's such a specialized environment.
Right.
Most of Trinidad and Tobago, when they go on to Boko Reef, it's almost seamless. They go, they enjoy, they go back home. But there are underlying factors, there are management issues that we need. And the first and foremost, we need to have the legislative teeth in order to do it.
Right, like for instance, the glass bottom boats, right? Because you're saying there that it's in a position right now where thing is being damaged.
Yeah.
Right. So would we be able to still have that tourism aspect, which is the glass bottom boats, go to view let me say
The glass,
something
The
out there?
marine ecology.
Yeah.
yes, the glass bottom boat, in my opinion, is it's the least amount of damage that occurs on the reef.
Or is it something?
Yes,
Okay.
I think that one of the things we need to fix, we need to appreciate that the Boko Reef doesn't only consist of the water, but it consists of the wetland and the mangrove. And so you have the wetland, and then you have the mangrove, and these are the natural filtration system of for that area. It filters all the runoff from land, and it's very important. So when you start destroying the wetland, when you start building private homes and paving, and then you encroach on the mangrove, that filtration system is destroyed.
That's right. The natural.
That's right, and the Boko Reef is smothered. So it's the development around that Boko Reef area, to me, is one of the things that directly affects the Boko Reef.
Right. Your colleague, Mr. Larry Richards, mentioned, because you did mention that you were part of the legislating the jet skis situation. Your colleague, Mr. Larry Richards, stated that you all did not consulted with the stakeholders itself in putting that legislation in place, technically saying, well, it was a quick fix to technically please the politician.
Yeah. And let me go further
Yeah.
because it impacts on the question I asked you earlier. Are you in agreement as well that the present THA administration is saying never again, thus the action that they would have taken.
It is a long and hard fight to get to manage that book. It has been I've had 4 stints on association and committees. I think, to be honest, and I might get some licks from my colleagues for this, both parties are a bit disingenuous. Because
what?
both parties, they,
Disingenuous. Both.
yes.
I see. Oh,
Let's
okay.
say,
Okay, so
you
on one
get licks
one
from
side,
colleagues, yeah.
Go
on
ahead.
one side, my colleagues know that we have been lobbying for legislative teeth of that area for the
Right.
longest time, for years.
Good.
Okay, it's part of it's the first step in autonomy to be able to manage that area. It is a unique area to the Tobago, and only Tobago has the power to manage that area. That's on one side.
Yeah.
On the other side, on the government side, the administrative side, they owe it to the stakeholders to put to the paper the most recent attempt to legislate that area. You understand? So people saying that, oh, well, they're not being consulted, they know what are the things that they know that that is just an umbrella. It just gives them the power to manage that book review. You can't put everything in the legislation. Okay, like for instance, some of the things that they are clamoring for is being able to keep the park open a little bit later. There are activities now that occur, sunset tours, bioluminescence tours, bioluminescence kayak tours at night. And you have early morning tours also. Some of the creatures come out early morning. But because of the stated time, the people are in a panic. They say, but wait a minute, they're not considering it. I think what the administration is trying to do is trying to make sure that people knows that when you can come and apply to go on the park out of the time. You can't do that. But they want to be able to monitor and manage it. So a time to regulate it. So you must have a time frame. Okay? So if you want to do something early morning, you apply, you do your application, you get your permit. If you want to do something late night, you get your permit also. So I think both parties, the messaging is what is bad here. They both want the same thing. They want
How they
it's
go
all
about
this message. Everything ends up in a political arena, and the message is lost.
It's lost, right? You inadvertently, I don't know, in your response to my colleague's question or concern, is that the legislation or looking to regulate it has been focused for a very long time.
Yeah.
So I conclude, is it right for me to conclude that simultaneously it is a problem, but resolution was also being considered simultaneously? Would that be right?
I think you are. I am the thing with some of my colleagues is that they're really in a panic because they think that they are going to because of what happened.
Yeah.
Yes, what happened is it
Triggered.
triggered, and it brought the issues of the Boko Reef into the limelight of the whole nation.
Yeah.
But it does not, it's unfair to say that before they won't attempt by the administration
Yes.
to
Right,
fix
oh my
it.
God.
Okay? It's unfair to say that. I think what I would caution the administration is to understand that the legislation is just one pillar of managing the Boko Reef. You have the safety aspect, you have the infrastructural development, because all of them are connected.
Monitoring.
And the monitoring and the
You
data
have to
collected so that you could add value to it. So when we come to the table and say, well, listen, there's $100 million owned by that area. You have the data. But there's nothing like that consistent now. There's nothing like that.
Oh, I see.
You have to remember that that Boko Reef started off as just glass bottom boat 50 years ago, going to the reef, enjoying the environment, enjoying the ambience. But now there are so many activities that is going on there, and it's not captured. It's not. It's not the. It's not the economy isn't. It's not adding any value to the economy at this point. There's a bleed.
So are you seeing then, having regard to what you have just said, are you seeing then that the movements have been made recently and maybe in the not too distant past by the THA, especially the present one, would provide the facilitation for adding not just value, but also for the viability of that place in terms of economic advancement and more people getting involved, so that you could attract the tourist dollar, so to speak, because that is where Trinidad and Tobago has to go in the not too distant future.
We would hope so. We would hope so. When I listened to the last gentleman, and he made the point that, listen, you could over legislate, you know, but there's no legislation at all. It's the Wild Wild West.
Wild West.
It's the Wild Wild West. But I would tell you that over the years, and to be honest, the safety record of that area, those glass bottom boats are doing a good job because you have to remember, they are going into an environment where there's no infrastructural development to home in on the craft and to home in on safety. There's no monitoring, but still, a lot of them, most of them have the trend of thought that safety is very important to their dollar, their livelihood.
Yeah, because their livelihood.
Of course. If they know that if there's an incident there, it is devastating to them. What the legislation to me brings, and this is what I would have liked Tobago House of Assembly to engage with them some more, to convince them that that legislation protects their income. It is a form of protection for them. It's not, they're resisting it because they think that it can be used as a tool to
evict them,
it's too much power.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's hope that the administration knows that their responsibility is heightened. One of the things, I know I was in the Coast Guard for 13 years, and if I didn't learn anything else, I learned that there are three things that go together, and you can't pull them apart. That's responsibility, accountability, and there's another one. You have to be responsible, accountability, and authority. Those three has to be together. In the military, if they give you the authority, bet your bottom dollar you are responsible. And if you are responsible, you are accountable. So if you are in a space like Tobago, and you are responsible for an area, but you don't have the authority, how can you be held accountable? All three must come together. The legislation would give the Tobago House of Assembly, those three, they will be accountable, they will have the responsibility, and they will have the authority.
Much more.
Right, we have about 3 minutes, so
I just want to ask you, one of the reasons for coming here is to address those very issues.
Yeah.
And I think you have done a commendable job in terms of that, and speaking to and maybe for the other stakeholders, instead of course the THA. What I want to ask you is what you would want to say to the Trinidadian potential tourists, to the non-Trinidadian potential tourists at this point in time, having regard to the fact that those two incidents that is recent have created, of course, some skepticism, if not trepidation, on the minds of persons who would love, who had made up their minds to come to Tobago.
You know, in the 30 years I've been in this business, at this present point, there's a There's a good and a bad in our situation. And social media and the fact that information is at our hand
Yeah. All over the
is a
world.
good and is a bad. Okay? The good in it is that when people come here, most of the time they're well researched. In fact, some of the people I deal with know, I am schooled by some of them. Okay? So the information goes out there fast. So when an incident like that happens, okay, it's quickly fixed. It doesn't linger, but you have to do that damage control. Okay?
Nice,
And
but,
that's what you have
but let Snipes take it when you think, because we could always add back this, because this is very important.
Yeah.
80% of your clients is from Trinidad. It's
Yeah.
Trinidadians, right?
Yeah.
And they play a vital important and the vital importance of the airbridge subsidy
Yeah.
for the survival of the dive and the tour industry. What's your take on that subsidy? Should they remove the subsidy? Should they keep that subsidy? Because again, we're talking most of your clients are from Trinidad and Tobago.
As a Tobagonian, we can't remove the subsidy.
Remove the subsidy.
You can't remove it because we have to travel to Tobago, Trinidad. We have to go. So it's a twin island state. It's going to be really hard on Tobagonians. Okay, if you remove the subsidy, that's one. The other if it for Trinidadians, it is unfair to them. I would suggest that the subsidies be removed to non-nationals first. Let's start there. Okay, because my international clientele, the amount of money it takes to get to Tobago is minimal. They don't mind, and in other places they know nationals afford a certain amount of, so remove it from non-nationals and then start with Trinidad and Tobago. As regards to 80%, 80-20, 20 years ago it wasn't like that. It was the reverse. 80% was foreigners and 20% Trinidad. But right now, my 1.3, 1.2 million brothers and sisters is what sustains Tobago.
Well, thank you very
Yeah.
much. Of course, we have come to the end, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But we'll have you back sometime.
Of course.
No doubt.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you very much for that. Was Mr. Alvin Douglas, of course, a director of Tobago Marine Safety and Security Services, giving us, of course, an update as to what is happening and making an appeal, of course, to all the Trinidadian and international potential visitors to Tobago as well. We go for the break, and when we come back, more on this edition of the Ground Report.
Very good. Very good. are back. We are back. We are back. Time check. It's approximately exactly 33 minutes past the hour of 8 o'clock. And you're listening to the Ground Report right here on Talk City 91.1 FM. Again, let me say a pleasant good morning to all our drivers, maxi drivers, taxi drivers, PH drivers, bus drivers, seven-seaters, all our drivers. And we must say a pleasant good morning to our brothers and sisters right here in Tobago. And we are broadcasting live from the Cocoa Reef Resort, a beautiful, beautiful resort. I wish that our manager, Trinidad and Tobago, Tobago, I wish that our manager keep us here for 2 more days and let's have the program here till Friday. Lennox, because this hotel is so magnificent.
I mean, I concur. I mean, it goes without saying, the ambience, of course, the magnanimity of the people, and indeed, of course, the accommodation itself seems to be so inviting that it will, in a true sense, encourage you to want to stay.
So I'm saying Stanley August, our manager Stanley August, is doing us an injustice for not having us here for 3 days at this magnificent hotel.
You see me, I will participate in that because I don't want it to serve as though it's industrial action.
All right. Nice. Now we are going here to Trinidad and Tobago. We are interviewing now Mr. Atiba Martin, Manager Engineer Design Corps Division of Public Infrastructure and Transportation. Yes. And would you be able to tell us what that role is?
That's a big title, right?
Yeah, big
You
title.
have a big title.
Yes. What that role, because it has some nice questions that I would like to ask here after you explain us that role. Because the questions I would like to ask is, we can see the new road networks is being opened and being used by the public. Yet the terminal remain closed. From an engineering standpoint, what is the final checklist for the site like this? Why is it common for the civil infrastructure roads to be handed over long before the terminal can receive its first flight? So before we go to that, give me an idea of the role, because then we will understand the question.
All right. Good morning to
Morning.
you guys and the viewing public and your basically engineering design corps. We deal with the designs for the division on behalf of the division, and we analyze and we evaluate proposals that may come to us from the private sector when we so decide to engage them. And so we do the evaluation of the design proposals that they do. But we also, as I said, we do the internal design work primarily for the division. And to some extent, some of the other divisions in the THA.
Okay, so did you all design the airport terminal? Or have
No, we had no work, we had no involvement in the airport terminal. That was done under NETCO
Okay.
and Airport Authority being the client.
Okay.
So we might have had an indirect relationship with them in terms of liaison and so on, but we didn't have a direct role in the design and outfitting of that.
Well,
that
all
project.
right.
There's some disquiet, for want of a better term, particularly in Trinidad, with respect, of course, to companies that would have gotten work but based in Trinidad and working in Tobago. Of course, based on what the description you have given, clearly your department might have been responsible for having that situation exist. Could you allay the concerns and give us some of the rationale that would have been behind such a move to choose?
All right.
contractors from Trinidad?
The concerns, from my understanding, would have more or less come from the Tobago contractors who
Yes,
felt
the
that
Tobago
we were
contractors, that is,
disadvantaged
yeah,
and
disquiet, yes.
and blocked out of the opportunities.
Yes.
Now, one of the challenges that the administration would have had in the first administration was cash flow, and
I see.
They were constrained by the debts that they inherited as well, and so some of the ambitious projects that they wanted to roll out, they just couldn't afford to do them pay for them directly.
Yeah.
So the contractors coming out of Trinidad who have greater financial capacity to handle these projects under what we call a design build finance model,
Oh, I see.
where they finance the project up front and we pay over term tranches of payments over a period. So that gave us a
So
cushion.
it was fundamentally a cash flow
Cash,
constraint
Yes.
that the THA administration had inherited.
That's right.
And they had to, of course, deliver
Yes.
based on their manifesto, etc. And therefore, they found a mechanism so to do without putting additional pressure immediately on the exchequer, the treasury of the country.
Correct.
Which is the participation of the Trinidad contractors that have the money,
Yes.
that have the capital.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
we
might
all
I
would
say,
love to give the Tobagoans, but they need to have that capital.
yes, and might I say add as well that Tobago contractors were not totally blocked out of opportunity to work. There were projects that were still undertaken by Tobago contractors, but from what I have seen, the major ones that were with the greater financial burden to the THA, they had
Those were
no
the
choice
ones that
but to
were
go
externally
explore that
sourced.
model to get it done, get the work done. Yes.
Question to you: in such a situation, would there be some clause in the arrangement for domestic, for want of a better term, input, given the contractor that might have been selected
Yes,
outside of Tobago? Go ahead.
Typically, yes, they would encourage policy-wise to employ local labor and local suppliers as much as possible.
Transfer
Yes,
as well.
yes.
Nice.
And that was the experience. We saw that
Okay.
on most of the
And it has worked
bigger
well.
projects. Yes.
Nice.
So Tobago contractors would have and suppliers would have been doing the delivery of and transportation of materials and supplying materials. So I saw that firsthand.
Great.
Nice. Now let's go into the road network, because that is your technically, I want to believe that's your field there. Now the public has had a few months to drive these new routes, these new routes, and what has the data shown your team about traffic flows, about the traffic flows?
Well, first of all, let me say that.
And are there any specific teething issues with the new roundabout system or access point that you are currently tweeting to ensure things are seamless by the time the terminal goes fully operational?
All right. Well, let me first say the major work that we have completed so far was the new connector road from Sherburne Road onto Tobago local road, right? And of course, with that, we have seen an increase in traffic flow or traffic commuters opting to use that route to get into South to Crown Point and those areas, whereas before you'd have had just the Milford Road run. So we've seen a split in the traffic flows basically. So commuters are using the new connector because it's faster to get to where you need to get to, and so that is what we have observed so far in terms of the traffic flow. In terms of the teething issues, as I say, this is a work in progress. We have another component to complete to finish the connection to the airport, which is basically our main mandate to provide the access routes so the public could get to the airport. Now the airport, I'm not sure which roundabout you're thinking about, if it's the one at Millshove or it's the one at the airport, but Millshove has little teething issues in terms of the setback from the Millshove building, but it's functional as we speak, so I wouldn't say that it's a disaster, but there are some fine refinements that we would want to address going forward. But the other roundabout that is closer to the airport, which is essentially like the roundabout that services the airport, that we felt that was an ideally located place. But that being the case, we are working on how best we can optimize the roads and the legs that work into that roundabout, so we could get an appropriate level of service when the airport does in fact open.
I got the impression that there may be, beyond, of course, your department, feedback in terms of you creating, or should I say, positioning yourself to make the kind of decision that you just outlined to us. So my question is, who are those other players or stakeholders, the users of the road? What? How you arrive at the remedial work that is now required to make, of course, a smooth, let's say, access and egression from those areas that you have just constructed or about to complete construction of.
Okay, well, we have a traffic management unit
I see.
that looks at it more intimately. We also, in terms of stakeholders, you
Yeah,
mentioned, right? So
stakeholders, yes.
of course we would speak, and we'll have close dialogue with Airport Authority of Trinidad and Tobago
Right.
and the contractors and NITCO, and we have actually reports that we would have used from Pure, who would have had an initial concept that
That's
they
the
did
Department of Ministry of Works.
in Ministry of Works. Yeah, that they did an initial concept for the egress and access to the
I
airport,
see. Okay.
right? And so we use those kinds of pieces of information and feedback to come up with to inform the decisions that we're making going forward.
Nice. Well, my next big question to you is again, which I agree, all right, which is the Kong Point area is notoriously congested. It's a fact, right? What engineering solutions have been implemented in these new designs to ensure that the increase in visitors' arrival for 2026, right, season do not result in a total gridlock for local businesses and residents? Because boy, there's a big area down here now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So what we have done is that we have looked at the traffic network as it exists right now, and one of the key benchmarks or measurables that we look at is what we call the level of service. And you're right, some of the areas that would be congested, and so that would represent a poor level of service. So we have a minimum level of service that we're looking at, and some of the solutions that we have come up with are, changing some routes to one-way instead of two-way. In some cases, we want to expand some routes and provide things like shoulders so that those roads would never be impeded.
I see.
And so those are some of the solutions, but we kind of locked into what we have.
All right.
At least in this initial stage. Down the road, we even pursuing the idea of cutting new roads that would provide additional road infrastructure.
Link roads.
Yeah, additional road infrastructure. But in this, if I might put it this way, like a 5-year horizon, we are more or less working with the network that we have and trying to optimize by changing the flow patterns and widening in some areas and solutions like that, providing shoulders, signage, that kind of thing. So those are the mechanisms that we are employing in the short term to ensure that the level of service is
Right. And we want to go to the next
adequate.
I want to go to the next big question.
Mhm.
With the massive increase in paving surfaces for the airport expansion, drains become a critical engineering challenge, which it is. Drainage become a critical engineering challenge. How has the designs addressed the risk of flash floodings in the low-lying areas of the southwest? And what modern materials have been used to ensure these roads survive Tobago tropical climate?
All right, that's a good question. Southwest Tobago, as at least in that area, Crown Point, Canaan area, has 3 main destinations or final destination for the runoff. There's the Kilwin wetlands, there's the Bonaccord, Pigeon Point wetlands. I think I heard your previous guest speak about it,
Yes.
right? And then there's the coastline, like areas such as this hotel would directly discharge the runoff into the ocean. Now, with the development that is happening in this airport, and trying to confine things to the airport,
Yeah, no problem.
the main outlet for the runoff from this kind of development that we see around the airport is the Kilwin wetlands. So far, the drainage design that was done for the airport, we came to our offices for approval, and that's another role that we play. We deal with the statutory approval of roads and buildings,
I see.
right? So we have that responsibility. So we'd have
Right,
looked
for the
at
private
both.
sector.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So the airport would have brought in their designs. We looked at it and we satisfactory. We approved it accordingly.
Okay.
And I could say that they discharge all their runoff into the Kilwin estates, another sensitive area. So we are very mindful of how we treat with the drainage that enters there, because it's a mangrove area, and EMA and all these stakeholders have to be part of the solution, and the mechanism of how we arrive at these solutions.
Right. Can you update us? Can you update us on the status of the runway paving? Yes, the runway paving. What are the Pacific AFF and local civil engineering standards your team has to hit this month to ensure that the heavy wide bodies aircraft we are expecting for the 2026 can be safely landed?
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that is outside of our jurisdiction in the division here. That is strictly under the airport authority and their team with NEDCO and the contractor who's working on that airport. So I know they would work within the regulations and the international standards that they have to meet, like as you mentioned, the FAA and the ICAO, and of course our very own civil aviation authority and airport authority themselves. So I know that they are working within that framework, but I can't speak definitively on what is happening there. But I know that they are working seriously to complete that project in the time.
Well, boy, Lennox boy, I can't ask no more. You look like everything is on board with them. But
But obviously, one of the issues that both in Trinidad and Tobago, I assume, is of course preventive maintenance. So we'd have had all of these infrastructural, developmental works physically in place, and of course for human consumption or usage.
Yeah.
Maintenance. What happens there?
Well, maintenance is a natural bugbear in this country, and I mean, you see time and time again. I mean, we have our responsibility.
Right.
I know that the secretary has even from the chief secretary's insistence that we improve the level of maintenance that we offer to the public. Simple things, simply from cutting the size of the roads and keeping the verges clean. We have our work to do. We are currently looking at acquiring some new pieces of equipment to bolster that activity. But for roads, basically, the maintenance is really, at least the everyday ongoing maintenance is really how you treat the verges and the drainage and things like that. But every cycle, as you know, wearing courses are asphaltic wearing courses has a life expiry date. So they usually last about 8 to 10 years once they're done properly. And when that time comes, we either we sheet or we mill and we come again.
Let me move to another area, because I mean, clearly, interdependency. Here it is, the agricultural sector. We have had a number of callers from Tobago. We are based in Trinidad, but we have a number of callers who talk about access agricultural
roads.
And of course, irrigation and all of the other associated. You may not be part of the irrigation part, but certainly in terms of the roads, to get to their farms, to make sure that produce don't spoil and they get it timely to the market, etc. But roads access road, they seem to be an issue.
Well, I know that is something that is seriously looked at by the THA, so much so that the Division for Food Security has its own project implementation team that looks at secondary roads for agricultural access. And I know that they do the work ongoing, but I can't say, I don't want to speak on their behalf as to the effectiveness of their programs.
Okay.
But I know that the fact that it exists suggests then that, or it shows then how seriously that, this is looked at in it, which is a major thing. I mean, secondary roads for agriculture is a serious deliverable in
While
THC.
you were in Trinidad as well, information came that major thoroughfares would have landslip, subject to landslip, of course, impassability, treacherous maneuvering in order to probably get to and from where one has to go, etc. Tell us,
You all dealt with
how
it,
do you respond to that in terms of
Oh.
those slips and
Well, when slips happen, we have emergency crews that deal with them immediately. But I could give you a good example. We have this notorious segment of road called Bad Rock in Bell Garden. That failed a few years ago. It's possible right now, but we are on the verge of undertaking a contract to widen and improve that road. But Tobago is a very treacherous kind of terrain that, we have a lot of those kind of plunging cliffs, and it's a challenge year round. But I mean, we can't fix all the road one time, all these areas, but we have a dedicated emergency response mechanism to deal with clearing those roads when the slips happen. And in some cases, when we see that there's a deficiency in the road, as in the case of Bad Rock, we would look to try to widen or improve it.
So
generally.
that's where your role comes
Yes.
in, which is the design.
The
and just
design.
to make sure that
Yes.
that road, when you will fix it,
Yeah.
it must never collapse again in that way.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
That's
of
right.
course, the creme de la creme, if you want to call it that, must be at the end of it all signage. Clearly, I would want to know what speed I could drive in a particular place, or indeed whether I could walk here or there as it used to be. How does the division treat with that aspect of it? Because that's
Again,
an integral part of the whole
Again,
process.
that is the responsibility of the traffic management unit. But as an engineer and a road user,
Yeah.
I know that signage, as you seem to believe as well, is paramount, because a road, like I was telling workers recently, paving the road is one thing, but if we don't have signage and marking and so on to make it make sense, the road is basically a death trap,
Yeah.
because you just have people speeding, the road smooth,
That's right.
and you take lives. So I want to argue that the signage and the road markings is even more important than paving the road, getting the smooth road. So it's very important, and we are taking a close look, especially with the airport and so on, to make sure that the solutions that we put in place are navigatable, and understandable to the general public. And signage is what gives you that.
And of course, the other thing one would have to, of necessity, address as well is the interconnectivity or the intercommunication of utilities, water, electricity, and
Yes.
so on,
Yeah.
having to put on the
Why
side or
not
in the
dig it?
middle or across. How is that?
Do you all get that
function?
challenge in
Yeah.
Tobago, for a matter of fact?
Of
Where
course.
We get that challenge where road will now pave, Wasa will come dig it up, and then they will
Of
pave it
course,
back,
of
and
course, of course,
so-
of course.
Yeah.
And we've had countless discussions and meetings with WASA and different stakeholders. Also, how do we solve that? There's a lot that could be said about why we have that problem. I just wish that the will is where it is necessary. There's even the possibility that we are getting substandard materials coming into the country. I was having a conversation with a high-ranking WASA official, and just on a breakout in a meeting, he said, in my years, I feel that what we're working with is substandard. So you're having all these leaks, and some say is when we pave, we put a pressure on the pipe, but based on what I see, I think we have to really look at it from a very objective standpoint, and not just blame, and really get down to what is causing it. But one thing I could say from a design standpoint is that we have a lot of pipes in the middle of the road. That is not the best design layout. You really want your water lines, your mains, that is, to be on the verge of the road, so that the driving surface
Yes, it's not affected.
doesn't have any
way.
main lines. I mean, there are some major lines running down in Trinidad at the side of the highway.
Yeah,
Imagine that being below the road
yeah.
Yeah.
and one of those leaking. And I mean, that is total chaos. So,
In fact, there was an incident in Bethlehem recently where they said rain fell, but from below.
but from below. Exactly. So,
Well, of course, we have
Important.
three more minutes. I would
about
love
two
to get two more. I'd love to get an impression as to where you see the division going in terms of some of the projects that may be projected. After all, you play a critical role in the economic life and the social life of Tobago in terms of advancing it overall.
well, the chief secretary has recently created a new division
Yeah.
that kind of speaks to your question in terms of the wider, bigger picture. And their mandate is the division of strategic planning and development.
Wow.
And their
sounds good.
mandate is, in a sentence, is really to look at projects that could transform. At least one of the mandates is to look at projects that could transform the island.
Right.
So it's not just a question of responding to a failure somewhere and are we going to build
Or a
this
new
road,
road going
a new
across,
road
it
here.
must have purpose
It must
and-
have a more widespread,
nexus, yes.
yeah, more widespread impact.
Good.
So while our division that I am in, would respond to the need for a retaining wall here or a road to link, to access a agricultural plot or something like that. That is just one side of the thing.
Yes.
This new division will look at the
Overall, the macro.
the macro impact
Yeah. Yes. Great.
that will hopefully will transform Tobago.
Thank you very much, of
Nice.
course, for gracing us with your presence.
Nice. So
And
Trinidad and
obviously-
Tobago, that was Atiba Martin, manager engineering designs corp, division of public infrastructure and transport, right here at the Cocoa Reef Hotel Resort. Thanks so much, Trinidad and Tobago. Well, stay locked on to 91.1.
Yes, it's 9 o'clock,
FM.
people. It's 9 o'clock. We
It's
have
9
to go.
o'clock.
Yes.
And coming up next, well, you don't know, off the record, Mr. X Heavy, right here already, where we continue till 12 o'clock at the Cocoa Reef Hotel in interviewing very, very important people that have to make very, very important decisions in order to carry Tobago forward. I wish if some Trinidadians
And the
was thinking so.
it have any place where you could dance something here?
Where you could dance like a nightclub.
Yeah, like a nightclub, yeah.
Well, this
No, not here. He go mash up boy. He go mash up. He can't dance. He just do a broke foot kind of flex
It's
out.
here teasing. It's here teasing.
Yeah.
You can't dance, boy. If you
Yeah,
see
yeah,
he
Jade
dance,
Monkey right there,
boy, if
man.
you see that man dance, you go mad. I'm telling you. You go want to know if it's fitzy catching, if it is.
Friends like them?
Yeah.
Friends like them, boy? You don't want any
You dance
enemy.
like you don't want to see that. You go fall down. Thanks so much, Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes, indeed.
Thanks, Mr. Atiba.
All right, thanks for having me.
Yes, man.
Have a
Yes,
good one. Yes, indeed, people. Of course, we are out of here, and of course, we'll be back in Trinidad tomorrow morning. When, of course, the ground report, Andy and myself from 6 to 9 will be in studio tomorrow. I'm sure that you would say that you love us to come back. Hoping so, because we have been well treated at the Cocoa what?
Cocoa Reef
The
Hotel.
Cocoa Reef. Notice only saying Cocoa.
Yes, Cocoa.
All right. Bye-bye.
Boy, Mr. X, he dance.